Hi, guys and girls, and welcome back to our Wednesday chat. And tonight, conform. Wear the glasses. Put the glasses on.
Put on the damn glasses.
They live.
Conform.
So basically, the glasses. Put the glasses on. What was that?
Sorry, I'm just trying to. There we go.
It was me. Basically, because I was messing around with my sound system, I got an echo.
I just muted mine as well.
Yeah. So I must admit, I thought I'd seen this years ago. I'd seen bits of it years ago. I hadn't seen the whole movie because the end of it I knew sort of, but poor Frank.
Yep.
So it was a very good movie, and watching it in 2021 eyes is very scary.
It's way too close for comfort.
Yeah, very close for comfort.
Yeah.
Between this and V for Vendetta. And as I said earlier, in the green room, I will go for the green room. Never mind all the Rangers supporters. It was a green room. I watched RoboCop as well, and between RoboCop, V for Vendetta, and They Live, I think the people in power have been watching those three movies.
Well, somebody in the know has been consistently dropping us hints and things like that. But,
you didn't think They Live was actually foretelling the future. It was all about alien invasion, but it really wasn't. It was about the power taking over and making us poor saps shut up and sit down and do what you're told.
Yes.
I must admit, I did love it. I thought it was a slow start, but I think it needed to be a slow burning start because it had to be a run-of-the-mill guy who...
Yes.
It was down in his luck, and just how he just basically landed in the middle of it.
I was thinking the same. It's a very slow burn, but it isn't the kind of a slow burn that's sort of off-putting, certainly to us. It was like, I've watched this film. I've kind of forgot now how many times I've watched it over the years, but I hadn't seen it in quite a few years. So it was great to see it again. But yeah, it gives you a nice long introduction, and I think as a result you get to experience his reactions to things a lot more because you kind of see what he's already having to deal with in his day-to-day life. There's no jobs. There's this sense of futility with everything. Everything's looking very depressed. It starts off and you see the graffiti on the wall.
Yeah, they live.
Yeah,
I like that part of the opening scene. The graffiti on the wall was the movie name.
but even so, even though the introduction is agreed a little bit slow, but if you look at the actual story, you don't really get much of a background to our main hero, so to speak.
Yeah,
but you do get the
guy traveling.
He is a drifter, so to speak. Take Rambo. He's just like moving from town to town. He's trying to find work. Clearly, he's well built. He knows construction, so he's like physical labor, everything. His curiosity and his mannerisms point toward that maybe he did serve in the war. Maybe he's like a veteran. He's come back. He's fallen on rough times, and he has to kind of move through that. But they don't build that. That is just up to you, the viewer, to like. Who is this character? Where does he really come from?
Yeah. See, when it was actually made, what was it, 1988? To me, that, especially when Frank talks about how his family and all that's in Detroit, all I thought was that not roughly about just not long after the Detroit, the car industries basically bottomed
collapsed.
out. They collapsed, and there was a lot of unemployment in the US. So I didn't see him as a drifter like Rambo. I saw him as a guy traveling, looking for work, because he had his tools with him, and he's just trying to find something, trying to find work, any work. So he's traveling around trying to find
Yeah, so the Rambo reference there is maybe slightly off because that's obviously different. That's kind of each to their own the interpretation, because that's kind of the sense, because it's but 5 minutes of him just like walking along railroad tracks coming into the city. You see that he has a little bit of the, not exactly homeless, because he looks clean cut, the clothes are well taken care of, the backpack is not ripped or anything.
Yeah. And he's clearly intelligent. He's an intelligent.
Yeah.
He's, he's articulate. He's, there's something more to him than just, a bum
from
sort of
the
floating
very
around.
first time I saw them or saw her, I didn't like her, was Holly.
Yeah, she was the actress that played her has done so many things over there. She's an incredible actress. But she
I don't know, she just obviously had that straight off. It was just about when he took her and then he's in the house and she's going, well, you're in charge, anything you do, as long as you don't hurt me. And I'm sitting there thinking, there's just something weird about her. It's just obviously the mannerism from someone, she's not scared, so she's not saying it as in, don't hurt me, do whatever, just let me live. It didn't seem like that. She just seemed to be so calm.
Very
calm, collected. She knows what she's doing.
Collected, but she's still saying these things as if that's what she's expected to say. It's almost, so from that, but I was sitting a wee bit, something not quite right with her. I didn't know what it was. And then see when I saw her turning up later on, I thought, oh, countdown, tick, 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 tick. It just seems like that. And I don't know what it was. It's just, she obviously came across as she was meant to be, is she, isn't you, whatever. You didn't know, but there was just something off about her, and you didn't know why until the end, which was good. But it was the fact right up until that point, you just had a suspicion. You just didn't know what was wrong. Was she one of them? Well, obviously not, because everybody's got glasses and she's in there. Was she in league with them? You didn't know, because the way she acted, it didn't seem like that. But the way she acted when, what was his name? Nada?
John Nada. Yeah.
John Nada. Aye.
Which interestingly in Spanish is nothing.
Well, I must admit, I'd never seen anything. Was it Rowdy Roddy Piper?
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a wrestler, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep. It definitely stands out in a certain part of the film that he's got that experience.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's I don't know. There was certain I'd never heard of him. Well, I had heard of him, but I'd only heard of the name, and I knew it was a wrestler, so I didn't know if it was the same guy. I found out afterwards it was, when I read some of the bits about it. But considering he was a wrestler, fair enough, we all know a lot of the wrestling is acting. I've watched the British wrestling for years when you had Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks and all that. I knew it was all fake, but it was just for entertainment. Obviously now the WWF or whatever it was, they've just taken it to the next extreme, but it's still all acting, because obviously, these guys are shouting and bawling in each other's face, but they're all sitting backstage having a laugh and discussing who's winning and who's not and stuff like that, because it's an entertainment. And
that was the whole point of it. It was just like being able to go and watch like the superheroes fight live.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. So the fact is, that they have got some acting experience, even though it's very out there acting experience. I still liked it. I still like the fact that he still managed to make it, and he actually didn't. It was nearly like, you can imagine. You look at Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
Some of the movies he still is the same persona like when he's in the ring. There's very few movies that he's in, he doesn't have that persona. Whereas I'm assuming Roddy Piper, just by the fact he's called Roddy Piper, he was very loud, very aggressive, very angry. Yeah, he actually seemed the slow burning, the quiet talking, just just looking for work, and yes, sir. And he basically reads the situation before. Could you tell me how to join the union? That type of thing. I thought was quite well done, because you would expect him to be a wee bit more out there, a bit more loud and very.
But still, it really flows well into his role. So yes, you can tell by the stature. He's well built. He's like built like a brick house. He's tall. He's very shapely. He looks very typical of that, but you would never suspect that him, the way he looked in this film, that he was out of place in a construction site.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. They made a point of people asking him a couple of times, did he have any tools on him, which I thought was interesting, you know, but I guess it helps to clarify the fact that he is, you know, he's a physical worker.
Yeah.
He's used to working on sites, construction sites.
Yeah. And Archer Collin, Meg Foster has very memorable eyes. I think her eyes looked weird as hell. They were just, it's the type of eyes I would expect in an android.
Yeah, she has
for me, for the time, I'm probably going to guess wrong here. She probably was in The Visitors, but she would have been perfect in that.
Yes.
She may have had that type of look about her.
Yeah, the way I remember Meg Foster, oddly, is when I was in school, we would, you know how they'd wheel in the little TV and the VHS thing, and that would be like, you'd be like, yeah, we're going to sit and just watch something today. We don't have to do anything. Yeah. And one of the films that they showed us, I think, was an adaptation of The Crucible from the book. Uh-huh. And I think that was the one. So, and she was in it obviously at a very young age. And I never forgot her as an actress because of her eyes, because you just have never seen anyone else with that type of eye. And I don't know if it's a condition. I don't know if it's just a genetic fluke or what.
I think so, but look at some of the stuff she was in. $6 Million Man. The Streets of San Francisco, Baretta, Hawaii Five-0, Police Story, Scarlet Letter, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Cagney and Lacey. I can't see V in this. Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I didn't remember her in V.
It suddenly kind of becomes like 6 degrees of separation, or how many people are you away from Kevin Bacon. But if she was in Cagney and Lacey, she's essentially just like 2 steps away from Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, I know. I was exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking Bruce Campbell when we were talking about 2 steps when we were Cagney and Lacey. But she was also in Quantum Leap with the great and unfortunately passed away Dean Stockwell.
Yeah, he passed this week. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. Yeah, he was one of my favorite actors.
Yeah. I loved him in a lot of the stuff. I loved him as Al in Quantum Leap. It was definitely the one that I remember him most from.
Yes, and me.
I got it when I saw it on the social media, the So Say We All, and I immediately thought of him, but I'm not sure exactly what TV show that So Say We All comes out. I believe it is Battlestar Galactica, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, she was in Sliders, but she was also in Hercules and Xena as well.
Was she?
Way to go, girl.
She played Hera in both seasons.
Oh, right.
The Mentalist, the originals. I didn't like the originals. That was the vampire thing. But no, nothing much else that I recognise the name of. But she's done a hell of a lot. But it's just that one. It's just her eyes. I don't know. And I was just looking. So that didn't like the twist, and I must admit I didn't like the twist. It was a good twist because you weren't expecting it, or even if you expected it, you didn't expect it to go down that route. I must admit, because I sort of freaked out, weird about her, but when they were going up to the roof, poor Frank, and that came out. It's a case of they've just killed one of the stars, and it just basically off screen.
That sucked. I know Frank needed a better sort of ending than that. That just sucked. I was like, he was a great character, and he was played by a fantastic actor, Keith David.
Yeah.
who was also in The Thing,
Yes.
which is also obviously John Carpenter. So no surprises there. But he's a fantastic actor. He's got great presence. He's got great timing. And the fight scene between
That
him
was
and Roddy
fun.
Piper just makes this film. It is so good. It's hard to watch, but it's so good.
You see, the place I recognize him the most from is one of my guilty pleasure films, which is Armageddon. And he's playing like a 4 or 5 star generals. It's like, are these the people? I wouldn't trust them with the potato gun. These bunch of retards. So it's like,
There's another one he played a general, and he played a military man, but it was more of a comedy. And I'm just trying to actually find out where it was. Because Final Space, maybe. I don't know. I have seen that.
I just put up his IMDb page. And
that's what I'm looking for.
He has a lot in the pipeline. It's like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, 12 film and TV series projects in the pipeline to be released. He has 340 credits to him as an actor on IMDb. That's a very busy man.
Yeah, he is a very busy man. But I'm just still looking at for the one. It was more of a comedy. He played a military man, and I'm just trying to see. So it's not Future Man. He was in Future Man. I remember that, but it wasn't that one. Adventure Time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He was in that. Oh my God! I was just trying to go back. He's been in so much. So he has. That's what I remember him from. It wasn't. It was a comedy show, Community. He was in the final season of Community. He took over the part when Dan Aykroyd left. Chevy Chase left. So he did the last season. Him and the girl from Criminal Minds came into it. He had these big station wagon, which is called them what did they call them in America?
Minivan?
No, it's not a station wagon. It's basically a caravanette, we would call them, but they call them
a minivan.
Winnebago.
Yeah. Oh, Winnebago, yeah.
He driving about these big Winnebago. That's what I remember him from. But I still got this. Even then, I had a picture of him in a military uniform, and it was a comedy, and I just can't remember what it is. But I'm sure somebody in the chat will probably know better than I do, because they always do. So it is. Yeah. She could have been cast for those weird eyes.
Yes.
Aye, definitely. Yeah, and I must admit, it's always sad when somebody like that passes.
Because he was such a Dean Stockwell. He was such a part of so many of our lives growing up. I mean, I like I said, I was glued to the telly when Quantum Leap was on.
Yeah.
And I loved both Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. But there was something about Dean's portrayal of Al that was so charismatic. And
he was a womanizing pervert that you didn't feel creepy about.
He was a likable rogue. Yeah, exactly. He was a likable rogue.
Basically, he's just, don't you look at me. Listen, Sam, I've seen you before, but not like this. He wasn't exactly a woman. But it's basically, he just had that, let's have a wee look. But he always seemed honourable behind it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being a womanizer, but he still had these very, very moral values. And I liked the ending he got in Quantum Leap. Got his wife back.
Oh yeah, do you know, it's been so long since I watched that. I'd forgotten that he was looking for his wife.
I know.
And
it's
been ages since I've seen that.
Yeah, but we'll go back to Keith David. He is. I think he's funny as well.
Yeah.
He's a good action star based on that fight sequence. That was just a fun fight sequence. Obviously, there was a lot of wrestling moves in it. And I thought very well done. They just put on the glasses. No, put didn't try to put the glasses on. Having a fight rather than saying going to put on the glasses. Just have a look round. It's very aggressive. The two of them.
Oh, he just took the attitude that I am not putting those glasses on because you've told me to put them on, so I am not putting them on.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like this clash of wills.
The fight scene actually, it felt, although it was cheap and dirty, it was like cutscenes, angles, the whole thing. It felt like it was a lot more actual contact sport in that. It wasn't like cam and suddenly the camera shakes, but the punch actually just slides past. So the camera shakes at the right time, so it looks like it. But if you look at the fight scene, it looks like, they practiced. They probably took a lot of advantage of Roddy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because obviously when they're in the wrestling thing, they do that. They know how to make it look good.
They certainly did in that fight scene. I mean, it looked very realistic.
His hand to make it sound as if it's actually hitting the face. Well, the other person's giving it that.
Yeah.
So, but
you could feel those punches. You really could feel them, you know, and you were like, oh, you know, it would just make you cringe a bit when he was, and then you think they're done, and then one of them gets up again, and then they go at it again, you know, and it got a bit comical.
In the modern fight scene, you would have someone gets knocked flat on the back. They would just do one of these like crab flips and whatnot. It's like they're up and fighting again. No, both Frank and Nada, they get knocked down, and it's like, I need to get up. It's an effort to get back up. But
yeah, you look at a modern fight scene. So you imagine that fight scene done in a modern movie, right? After all that, they would get up and they would come back, and one of them would go, "We are wee teeny cut," and another one might have a wee bruise, and that would be it. But you look at the two of them, side of the face all bruised, it's all swollen there. There's blood all over their lips and their noses.
It was very raw. It was very raw and very real.
Yeah, and even after it, the way they did the makeup, it looked as if the two of them had been beating the shit out of each other for a while. Yet you look at modern ones where they've been, was it Shang-Chi? They were talking about the fight on the bus.
Yeah,
where all these guys are getting beat up, but they're lying there and there's not a bit of blood on them. They're meant to have get their face smashed into poles on the bus, and they're lying there, no blood, no bruise, nothing.
A little too pretty.
Yeah. Whereas nobody. It was a wee bit different with the fight in the bus.
I suppose you have two extremes. You know, you have the ones that just don't look like they've been through enough of a fight to make it look realistic, and then you have this film where the fighting is so raw that you literally feel like you're gonna, you know, especially the scene where he hijacks Meg, I wanted to call her Meg Ryan, Meg Foster's car, and they go back to her apartment, and then she manages to chuck him out the window. That was so intense because
it was so intense, but it was also so unexpected. Because he just gets up and suddenly the bottle she's just been drinking out of, bang over his head, and he gets pushed right through the window.
The timing of that was really good because it does take you by surprise. They don't give you enough time.
It really does, because the camera work, if you take, I wouldn't even say it's just modern. If you take most films where it's like the lady's in danger, she gets a weapon, you get to see that like slow motion. She's reaching for it. She's getting that perfect moment. It's like a slow swing before the smack. This one is just like instant, boom, he's out the window.
Because he just gets up to do that to the TV, and she just goes, bang! And he just stumbles right forward, straight through the window. I thought was well done. It caught you unaware. So it just basically, it happened. And if you didn't have the option to rewatch it, you imagine that, watching that in the cinema, just sitting up watching it, expecting him just to go over it, suddenly banging his line. It'd be very shocked, very.
It's a really shocking scene. You have the crash of the glass, so you have the shock of the sound of the glass breaking. You feel like you can actually feel him falling out that window and landing and then rolling down this embankment, getting beaten up as he's rolling down. And then he's crawling into this sort of side alleyway, and then he gets underneath an overpass, and there's some, I don't know how they managed it, but it just felt so visceral.
Yeah.
Much more than some other films.
Aye, because you can imagine where any other movie he would have got up and climbed or ran away a wee bit further, whereas he just seemed to struggle over the first wall and then lay there, knowing fine well he can't lie there because anybody comes down that lane he's found. So what does he do? He pulls himself over the next one, and you can see how hard it is. Because you just feel, ow, that must have hurt.
But not only that, just when he's out the window and he's tumbled down the embankment, as you described, Bandolji, when he sort of comes to, he actually looks confused. It's like, what happened? Where am I?
Yeah.
He has that, everything just turned upside down. So definitely he adds more to the character, to the scene that's a shock to him. And he's by no means an immortal like most heroes in a film is. It's like, they get the crowbar to the face, and it's like they're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And even when he goes off on his killing spree initially, after the two cops, although it looks quite random initially when he's just firing the guns here, there, and everywhere. You notice when they actually do it, it's all the aliens that get it. The only time a human gets it is if it's a cop who's firing them. But even then, it seems to be reluctant. Look at the cop, it turned up, and he just looks at him and goes, run, put your gun down and run. And he
put your gun down and run.
The only other ones he shot were ones that were actually shooting at him and Frank as they were going down that lane. That's when he shot them. Not all of them were the aliens.
And I think that's what allows us to still admire him as a hero. If he was the type of character that was just shooting cops and aliens and everything, you'd immediately lose respect for the character. But that one scene where the cop runs out on him, and then there's this momentary standoff, and then he goes, beat your feet, get out. He's clearly, he's focusing on the aliens, and as you said, he's not intending to kill anybody else unless they're actually going to kill him.
Aye, because he basically, even when he's in the movie or the studio, the new studio, same again. He just seems to be firing blindly, but all the ones that gets hit are all the aliens. Which I must admit, did you see the cutscene at the end?
Which one now?
The cutscene at the end, after he basically blows it up, then it goes around and you see them in the news studio, the people looking going, my God, you look ugly, and then running, and then they're in a bar and all these people are actually sitting watching, that guy's watching the telly, and
he has no idea that all of a sudden they can see him, and they look at him.
The girl in the apartment, she's going, and then she looks down.
I thought that scene really sort of it was a funny old scene to make as the last scene, in the film, but it does show it shows the wide range of activities that would be going on, where people would be suddenly realizing that these aliens existed and seeing them in odd situations.
But what actually, when obviously you got the explanations of when the guys, the ex-foreman was telling them why they're here and what they're doing, and you obviously got the resistance telling them why they're here and what they're doing. But even at that, you still don't really know why they're there, because obviously resistance saying they are using us as cattle and they're draining the earth dry and they're just sting me, then they're going to move on to the next one. Yet the people who are being bought out, it's a case of, well, they're here and they're basically just, then this is how they colonize and and stuff like that. But it's the fact is, when you see them in the news, the store, the two aliens are talking, gossiping about a neighbour.
Yep.
And you're sitting there thinking, well, if they obviously need to know that each other's an alien, but they're still acting very like the situation around them. It's almost like they've come here. Why? See, initially when I first saw it and I was thinking about it, was both of them got it wrong because they're just assuming? Are they ones like the District 9 aliens? They just landed here.
No, it's definitely not that kind of
No,
sense,
wait a
because
minute. Like the District 9 aliens, as in they landed here because they're out of their planet. That's initially what I thought. And maybe they had just decided they've got the technology, they can take over because they've got know-how and stuff like that. Right up to the point where you see their gravity traveling. So that takes it out. But they just seem to... Why would they come in to take over, but they would actually integrate into the society in such a way? Because they don't need to integrate in all those levels.
You see, I think this is where they added more layers or level to it. So it might have been that it is a complete society on their own. And obviously they came here. We're not ever told, but they came here a lot longer ago. So they've integrated into society. They look like us.
Yeah.
And therefore, because we're the neighbors, we're everything like that, they start to behave like us because that's the norm. This is what you do. You go to the shop, you have a gossip or chin wag with your neighbor about your neighbor, the whole mannerisms.
Yes,
and
but what I'm saying
you have the top level at the other end. So, when they come into this big conference where it's like, oh, we've increased profit by 39% for everybody of you super elite people.
Yes.
That's obviously the more in charge.
Right, but I'm not talking about the human aspect of it, because if the aliens could come in, yes, I could understand them maybe becoming police officers here, there, and everywhere, or people in authority, but you still wouldn't expect, I suppose, the two of them gossiping about neighbours, because
that's
a very human thing to do. That's what I mean. It's the fact is they just seem to try to be blending in, whereas taking over is not the same. They only want to keep a cover, but the difference is when you get two of them talking to each other, they're not acting like, well, we've done this, we did it. It's a case of they're still doing human things, even though there's nobody else around them except two aliens. They're still gossiping, and that's it. Just seemed.
I did puzzle a little bit about that myself when I watched it. It didn't take me out of the film at all, but I do remember seeing that and thinking, they're talking to each other. Why would they be? Yeah.
And that's why I thought maybe they had to come into the society, and they just basically had to ring it, and then they've decided that they've got the power so they can start taking over. But they can't just come in and suddenly take over. They have to work around and get themselves positions.
Absolutely. Yeah, so they've integrated perfectly into human society.
But when they're talking to all these the humans in the know, they're basically, it's almost a case of, well, we're paying you all to give us this power and stay along with the power. But it just didn't go along with the other end, where you've got them sitting in a bar chatting away, or the two women in the shop, that type of thing, or having sex with a human. It just seems.
You see the conference, the elite stuff taking place on the spaceship or whatever it is, because obviously they're not on Earth on that one. But I get the gist, because it's never really revealed during that time, to the elite kind of people, the rich swaggy ones. Like, oh, don't worry, I'll show you this. I'll show you the studio set. I'll show you this. I don't think they seen the alien side. I think they know that these are people with influence, or a group with influence, but never.
No, I think they know they're aliens, because remember, he shows them the teleport thing.
Yeah, the teleport thing, but it's just higher technology for them. Take for visitors, where you have the human skin over the lizard.
Yes.
They look human, and not everybody knows that, okay, they're not actually human. They're just human-looking aliens to them. So I think that's what's going on in that elite conference.
Yeah, but it's the fact is the way they act when they're together. It's not. It just doesn't tie up as nice and neat, which is great because it can give a lot of other theories around it. Like, for instance, I still think there has to be something different just because that one scene where the two of them are gossiping about a neighbour. Two aliens who are they're trying to take over the planet. Why would they gossip about a neighbour? Because they're basically, one group are saying they're treating us like cattle. You don't gossip about what Daisy did with her calf.
Sadako and Archer Collin both had some good points in the chat, and Sadako has mentioned, sometimes infiltration groups have to go to the finite detail of looking so much a part of a society that they go into that level of blending in.
Yeah, I can understand that, but
and then Archer was saying, if they've been living among us for generations, they may well have absorbed human cultures. So that's another way of looking at it as well.
I suppose that's another way of looking at it. But, well, generations there, I think the time they mentioned was 50, 58, 56, 58 in the movie. So you're talking about 30 years.
It's still 30 odd years. It's a good, solid generation between them.
Aye, but it just seemed weird because you imagine what human who have gone native, like, so Dances with Wolves as a movie, right? Not a great movie, but it basically gave you the bit where people kept saying how he'd gone native because he started acting like the native Indians when he was in the battle, doing the
that was native in more of a derogatory term set in that time period. That was more of a derogatory reference to going native.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's because he did absorb a lot of the culture and he would do things along with them. However, when he met another white man, I suppose, he didn't speak to him as if he was another native, as it were. And that, whereas you look at it, the natives, they would have a laugh and a joke at each other's expense. Which, I suppose it'd be like, I'm trying to think. You can imagine two lords, or it's two spies. Let's give it James Bond and 008, right? They would go native, but if they were on their Todd, nobody around them, you can't imagine them still acting in character if they're just the two of them. And that's the part. I mean, it just seemed a bit odd that they were it was just so normal.
But you see, this is what for me, I like that scene.
See, I would have preferred
because it tells me
one of them was human and one of them, then it would have actually been a bit more understandable. But it's
very much agree. But for me, just that alone, because obviously the film is not really giving too much of the background, whether it comes to the hero, to Frank, to the drifter, to Meg Foster's character, Holly. We don't really know why. She's human, but we don't really know exactly why she's sided with them. So these small hints kind of adds to the clues that add the bigger picture. And again, as I said, the whole intro of it, make of it what you will as the viewer. This is one of these long lost, forgotten. It assumes that your audience had a little bit of intelligence or imagination or a combination of both.
I think that movie left enough. It finished the story at a point where it could go either way. Will people actually remember that? Will they redo the transmission? And then people will start to forget or whatever. Then maybe people who they knew was aliens would have to be moved to another place, so they would forget or don't know if the person sitting next to them is an alien or not. But what I'm saying is, it left it open enough that anything could have been possible.
which is for me, that's a personal preference. I like to join a story when it's already going, and then leave and have all these like, this could have happened, this could have happened, this could have happened. I like them because it's open to your own interpretation. And when you talk to someone else that watched the very same film, maybe even on the very same day, they may have had starting point was here, ending point was here. You had the starting point here, but your ending point was up here. That's what you took away from it, and that leads to interesting discussions.
Yeah, and the thing I liked about it as well is, unlike modern movies, if that was created, say 4 years ago, just under 5 years ago, by now we would have had a prequel about how they came to Earth and actually set up the situation and how they went about it and where they came from, everything. And then we would have had a sequel about how aliens had to help the humans overcome it. So you had some people like Freddy Krueger, Robert English.
Robert Englund.
Oh, Robert
Englund, yeah.
He played I Am Just. Remember in V? That was one of his first thing.
I can't remember the character's name. I know the character so well, and I'm just blanking on his name.
He initially introduced himself by going up to the guy and going, I am just. You're just what? I am just.
It's a kind of very sweet name. It's
something like Robert or something like that. But
Willie.
It's basically that. Yeah? Willie. That's right, William. Yeah. And they basically kept going up and they're going, you're just what? And they're saying, I am just. He says, oh, you're lost. He says, lost. He says, sorry, I was meant to be in the Middle East, so I had to relearn the language, so I got it wrong. But you imagine nowadays they would have a sequel to that where 3 or 4 of the aliens come over to the human side because they thought it was wrong, and they're the ones that helped them finish it because the humans couldn't do it themselves without the help. That's what I'm saying, is you would have had a prequel saying about how the aliens turned up and how they took control, and then you would have a sequel saying how it finished and how the aliens got all kicked off the planet except these few helped us. That type of thing. And that's whereas then you got a movie, it stands on its own, doesn't have a great start because you don't know how they got there, doesn't have a great finish, you don't know if they're completely defeated. It leaves it in such a way that you can make up what you think how they got into the places, and you also can think how it ends and how it's going or what could happen next. A perfect movie, something that leaves you thinking about it.
Yeah.
As I said, the open start, the open ending. I like a film that actually just drops you in the middle of it, and it's up to you. So, what's going on? So I'm 10 minutes into the film. I do not know who the superhero is. I do not know who this is. I know a few characters that is like, oh, I like him. I like her. I seem to sympathize with them, because that's kind of the in terms of the hero's journey. When you make a good film, you have to have
a good hero's journey. You look at Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, and Empire Strikes Back, or Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Those 3 movies, you got one. You didn't know how the Empire got there and how long they've been there. All you knew, there was dissatisfaction with the Empire, and at the end, they defeated the Emperor, but there was still all his forces out in the galaxy because you didn't. So it gave an ending, but it also gave a start. But the start and the stop could have had them. Unfortunately, they did give us prequels, they did give us sequels, and both of them were shit.
But it did give us some really nice video games, some really nice.
I know, but those are not. Those are basically just. See, it's one of those ones. They give us books, but the books still don't fill in where the movies are, because not many people go into all the different media options.
No, that is true, but it's
But they did.
it wasn't what the books or the video games were doing. It's just the fact that it spawned so much imagination in people's minds that you had a film that made a ton of money, and around it you had creative writers, video game makers, storytellers,
Even I played
literally blowing it up 100 times stronger than the original material was. And they didn't, sorry Disney, but they didn't disrespect the source material. They actually wanted to build onto it, not just go, oh, no, my book is overriding this.
Yeah. And it's basically, I remember playing Pod Racer. I remember some of the other Star Wars games where even I played them. But I never, some of them I didn't, some of them I liked, some of them I didn't. I hated the first person or the third person shoot 'em up, basically where you're behind your character and if you're a Jedi, you're fighting and the stormtroopers are coming in shooting you and you just go, whoop, handle them over a cliff and let them go. I was always a stormtrooper. I could never do the Jedi stuff. I basically just wanted a gun in my hand. So I didn't like those games. So I was rubbish at them. But yeah, we were basically talking about what would happen if they did a prequel and sequel. Pressing the Empire had been around a long time, possibly even decades. Yep, that's true. Basically, it set itself up universe-wide in such a short time. Yeah,
it's just such a weird thing, the fact that the Empire is literally younger than both Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
Luke and Leia was actually born before the Empire was put
together. Yeah, see, that's where the prequel killed it. That's where the prequels, for me, killed the story. I didn't like some of the characters, didn't like Jar Jar. I hated the fact that they brought R2 and C-3PO in. Didn't like that because they had to bring them in. Why? There's certain times you can bring a character into a prequel, like the X-Men one. Was it Days of Future Past? They go in to try and with Wolverine, and he goes, fuck off. And that's basically it. That's the only wee cameo, because yes, with Wolverine you could get away with that because he's almost immortal. He's basically can live for a very, very long time. So they could get away with if they go into the past and do it and he's still there. Yes, but the fact is you're trying to bring all the characters in. That's when it kills it. How all these characters have met each other, but they met each other for the first time 4 movies from now. It doesn't work. And that's why I don't like a lot of the sequels and prequels, or prequels especially, because they always try and bring all the characters from the movie in as if they've all met each other before, but they all forgot.
I've got an interesting bit of trivia here for you, PJ, about Roddy Piper.
Uh-huh.
You may already be aware of this. I don't know. I've not really looked that deeply into his wrestling background. But apparently, although he was Canadian, because of his Scottish heritage, he was billed when he was wrestling as coming from Glasgow and was known for his signature kilt and bagpipe entrance music.
Yeah, like all of us.
So he actually, that was his shtick. He was like, I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that either. And I must admit, the fact is, Glasgow, they pick a notoriously hard city. If he was going to go with the bagpipes and kilt shtick, he would have been better saying Inverness.
Yes.
But
it shows a little bit of like a lack of
the lack of understanding. So
yeah.
Not everybody even think there's more people who have got a stronger Highland route. So a lot more people up there would wear kilts than down here. However, Glasgow's got a hard man persona behind it.
That so bit would have fit him. But yeah, they went a bit sort of sort of predictably cheesy with the kilt and the bagpipe thrown in without really knowing exactly why they were using it.
Yeah.
Interestingly, though, he was only born in April 1954, but he passed away in July of 2015.
Wow.
Which seems a bit young.
Yes. Well, 1954, 2015. So you would have been what, 60, 61?
Yeah, he wasn't that old. So it just, can't see anywhere what happened to him, but perhaps just illness or something. But yeah, it was. He was a very interesting character.
It definitely was, and I must admit, I'd never seen anything about his wrestling or anything like that, and I hadn't really heard anything about him. I recognised the name because I'd heard people talking about Rowdy Roddy.
Well, what's interesting,
I realised he was in that movie.
Yeah, and it makes a little bit more sense. Like when you think about the scenes where, he has a go at that woman in the supermarket, which is actually really funny. I'm sorry,
Yes.
that is pretty funny. Where he calls her formaldehyde face and something.
Yes.
That is a pretty funny scene, but I think that actually seems to relate a little bit to, like, he was like he was more known as like a villain in the wrestling scene. Well, so he would have had like that sort of sarcastic wit.
Yeah,
that he would sling insults and things like that. So I could see where they were.
A book of insults he used to, any good insult, he would take a note of it to use in his career. And some of the insults made it into the movie. Like, I got to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. That was
it's such a classic statement today.
Yes, but that was something from his one-liners for it, and they basically showed was it John Cameron?
Yeah, but I love where that actually comes in, because he doesn't realize that he's just stepped in with a shotgun, like a duffel bag over his shoulder, and he's standing in a bag. And it's like, crap, what do I do now? And that's literally what he comes up with.
But it was the fact is that was from his punchline book, as it were, and some of the punchlines got in, and accordingly, after he had done it on the movie, he started using it in his wrestling career. But he never found anywhere in his wrestling career he actually put it in, but it was some of these lines, and he showed John Carpenter, and they decided that it would suit the character in the movie, so that's why he had some of his one-liners in it, which was superb. So I've got my Black Dog.
Oh, look at that. I was going to say you have your emotional support, but that's not emotional support. That's beauty support.
He thinks I'm his. Dinner.
He's a big old, he's a little old softy.
Yeah.
I love the video clip that you have where they dressed up as Batman and they just go at each other, and you done the kapow and wham. And
well, I had that uploaded ages ago, and I got a copyright strike, so I had to edit it down a bit and take a lot more of the music out, and that's why you've got every so often you've got I'm Batman, because I tried to break it up. I got a copyright strike, but it was basically I could upload it, but it just means that it couldn't be shown in certain places. But I left it up. But initially, it had just the Batman theme tune with them fighting, and it got a copyright strike. So that's why it ended up on Twitter first.
Yeah, I find this a bit sad, because what we're doing here, we're essentially giving free PR to topics that we love and like. Okay, I understand. Like, if you just took the Batman tune, that was all you put up. But you've added content, unique content even. You have two dogs just playing around.
Yeah.
And you have camera angle, you have direction, you have all of that. All you did was use a little bit of the music. You're not using even the full theme.
Yeah, I think they just take a broad brush to everything, which is unfortunate.
It is. It's just a shame, because I thought it was actually perfect the way it was, and having to add the I'm Batman and just sort of didn't quite go. But it was the only way I could get it uploaded without getting a copyright strike.
You need to play around with your voice changers so you can do I'm Batman.
Well, that was actually from the Batman movie, so I actually got it from whoever did the Batman movie, saying I'm Batman.
Michael Keaton.
I'm never a great Batman fan. I like the classic stuff, and I've watched one or two of the movies. And believe it or not, I did like the one with the bat nipples because it's comic book silly, and that's what I like about a movie. Hence, the reason why Arnold Schwarzenegger is Mr. Freeze. Matty,
you see. As soon as I saw the trailer for that, it was like this is literally the first time I was starting to get disappointed with like the geek, like journalism. It's like, oh, this is like the film and everything. It was like all they were talking about back then was not Mr. Freeze, not Batman, not Robin. I think Ivy was in it as well, Poison Ivy. But all they could talk about was the bat nipple.
Yeah. See, to me, like, fair enough. The suits didn't look great. They had the bat skates and stuff like that on it, but it was comic book silly, and that's why I liked it. I don't like the gritty ones, so I liked. Although I don't normally like Jack Nicholson a lot of stuff, but I loved him as the Joker.
Oh, he's amazing.
He was made for that role.
It was very.
I really liked Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. Because this was the era where he was starting to swap a little bit from like the over-the-top action hero, and he was bringing in more comedy into it. So you had Twins and Kindergarten Cop. You had all of them on the side, so you knew he could be a little bit funny. So he kind of added more layers to like the evil guy. Yeah. But even in this film, I keep forgetting what the Batman film is called, where it is, but you do even get a villain with a reason why. Because Mr. Freeze wants his wife back. And they bring that out heavily in the film, which is like, wow, I don't recall seeing this a lot before this one happened. Because it's usually, bad guy is bad guy, go kill bad guy.
But see, I didn't mind the bad guy go kill bad guy, because you don't need to give a backstory to why the bad guy's the bad guy or the good guy's the good guy. They always do, but it's still I liked it because it was very comic book. Kelly Inch, basically, anyone seen Hardware Wars? I have, but it was years ago, and if I remember, it was really good. That was the movie. That was the movie. I'm trying to remember. There was a TV show, but it wasn't Hardware Wars. Hardware Wars was a comedy horror, if I remember right. It was almost like a zombie one, but if that's the same one I'm thinking about. So, Kelly, if that's the one I'm thinking about, the horror one where they're in it's like the new movie with Bruce Campbell, Black Friday. They're in a hardware store rather than a mall or a Costco. I think that's where it was, Hardware Wars, and they're basically having to survive almost like a zombie apocalypse, if it's the one I remember. But correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think I've seen this one, but I have been unfortunate enough to have been floor store staff during a Black Friday when they've had these super deals, and you see, like, it's so bizarre because for me it was just I needed to make extra money when I was at uni. And you're told you're working night shifts, so you're standing on the floor, you're getting ready, you have your tills open and everything, and then you walk toward the front door because, well, for some reason I got tasked to open it, and you're just walking to the door, and there's like it's like hundreds of people like pressed up against like the sliding doors, and you just going, I've seen this too many times in films. Do I really want to open the door? But when you do, it's like it's World War Z. People are just like, it's like a crashing wave, just like running into the store and like grabbing anything they can get their hands on. It's really, really scary.
It can be. And hi, Cam, thanks for joining us again. And your car accident, I hope you're still keeping well and still not in any pain or anything like that. And I hope your car's fine. I know that was the thing that got most of the damage. So take care. The government bans books, movies, and newspapers, etc., and they think they don't like and things they don't like, and it's up to the liberty. So that's that manga. I haven't seen that. The only librarians I remember was the librarians very Warehouse 13.
Oh, that's
Yes.
two very good TV shows / movies. I'm not sure if Warehouse 13 had movies, but
I don't think-
librarians did.
Aye, because I liked the librarians. Early on, it was better, but the same idea. It went a wee bit. There's the Santa Claus one was hilarious. So it was. If I remember it, was it Bruce Campbell that played the Santa Claus in it?
Really?
It would not surprise me because the whole genre, the storytelling, the cheekiness would definitely be up Bruce Campbell Street.
I'm sure Bruce Campbell was in it at one point. I can't remember if he played the Santa Claus in it, but I did like the librarians, but I haven't seen the manga, so that's not the same one. Because the librarians, same idea, they were actually collecting artifacts, similar idea to Warehouse 13. A Demolition Man reference. Yeah, that was another great movie.
Well.
Yes. I liked the Demolition Man. That is a fun movie. Another Arnold Schwarzenegger good one.
No, it's a Sylvester Stallone one.
Oh, no, I'm thinking Running Man. That's
Running Man.
Demolition Man with like Wesley Snipes and what's her called?
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. I was going to say she was in Speed. That was hilarious. She would get things wrong all the time. Let's go and blow him. It's blow him away. It's stuff like that. So I love that. That's one of the. I must admit, it is a guilty pleasure.
I think it's a standout role for her because she's strong, as all of that stuff. She does have that fascination with the band technology, if we put it that way.
But she knew how to use the 3 seashells.
Yeah, we're still researching that one.
Yeah, aye. Somebody actually has put a video up about how to use the 3 seashells. I've not seen it. I've seen it pop up in one of my things, and I never got a chance to see it because there was so much else on my list. One of these days I'll need to go through because we were trying to explain.
You see, I'm split.
Seashells was about.
I'm obviously curious. How the heck does that work versus toilet paper? But it's also part that it makes a bit of fun in the film. It's like you're not supposed to have a clue.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how, and the biggest like where I'm bursting out laughing is where it goes up to the morality penalty machine and it's going butt wiping, ass wiping, beep 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 beep. Keep your seashells. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. In that movie, basically, he foreshadowed what was going to happen, if you remember. He basically turned to Wesley Snipes and says, I'll knock your block off. And how did he die? He knocked his block off. He basically froze him and then knocked his head off from the ice, what was left of him. So he basically foreshadowed what he was going to do to him, and he actually did it.
But even so, talking about Demolition Man and tying it back to They Live, such frighteningly forecasting films, both of them.
Yeah.
If you look at the speech correction today, I think the first time I really became aware of it was through like Jordan Peterson getting up against like the Canadian Senate or whatever it was. It was like, you're allowed to say this, yes. You do not have a right to force me to have to say this.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. It's forced speech. It's the same as Jordan Peterson says. If they control what you say, they can control what you think. Because if you have to think about everything you say, then they're not only controlling your speech, they're controlling your thought. So you'll think something and then you'll police yourself before you say it. That's what they're going. So you automatically don't think those things. So they're trying to control speech to make you control what you think.
You see, I see that as okay. Might be a longer thought. I see it as a very dangerous path. I mean, I want to choose my friends. I want to choose who I hang out with. And if you say a lot of bad things, if you're going, I'm alt-right and doing all the bad things that the left seem to think the alt-right is doing, it's like, I agree. There's not a lot I have in common with you. But if the person I'm meeting has that complete filter, they never get to say the things they're thinking, how would I know who they are? How would I be able to actually gauge and
But
validate?
that's what I'm saying. It's crazy because, mind you, I never basically let people filter what I'm going to say. I'll say what I need to say, but then again, I got brought up in a way that you be polite no matter what. But if you need to not be polite, I got brought up with that as well. But truthfully, when it comes down to it, if somebody comes up and introduces, "Hi, I am a X person, and this is me," sorry, that's not how you introduce yourself. I would introduce myself. Hi, I'm PJ. I don't tell you anything else about me. Tell you my name because that's what you refer to me as. If you're talking about me when I'm not there, don't care what you refer to me as because guess what? I'm not there. So I've been called every name under the sun by friends and family and enemies I know, but it doesn't bother me.
At least
That's what it is. If you are bothered with what other people think, then there's something wrong because you should only be bothered about what you think and your friends think. If what your enemies think doesn't matter how nice you are, your enemies are going to actually twist it because they don't like you. So no matter what you do,
you see, I don't care about my enemies.
exactly.
I live rent free. I have like rent free space in their head. I could care less about them. It's just like, you do what you want to do. I'm not your friend. I have no influence over you. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The way I look at it is, I don't care. I don't care enough about what people say about me because if they're saying nasty things, I don't care. They're not saying them to me, and if they're saying them to me, then I'll have an issue. But I don't really care. It's not going to get inside my head and go, "Oh, did he really think I'm like that?" I'll go, "Did he really think I'm like that?" It's a difference in how you look at it. Don't let anybody actually determine who you are. You determine who you are. Christ almighty, I was getting slagged since I was in school about being a geek. Did it make me change?
Yep.
I grew up even more so. So I was reading comics, I was watching sci-fi when I was in primary school, and I used to get called a geek and get slagged and stuff like that. It didn't change me. I didn't suddenly start watching and playing football. I'm going out with the boys. No, bugger that. Star Trek's on.
Yeah.
Exactly. So nothing's changed since I was 5, 6, and nothing's changed. I basically still watch and enjoy the same types of programs because I never let anybody to tell me what was good and what was bad.
So, but I'm looking at the people that was giving me grief for being geeky. The shows they're watching, the generic programming, Big Brother, Love Island, Love House, whatever it is. There's nothing to talk about. I mean, the stars, so to speak, that comes out of these whatever TV reality dramas, they're forgotten about 2 years later. And here I'm sitting with two strangers and an amazing chat, and we're talking about the film that came out in the 80s because it has such amazing value. And
exactly,
everyone that sees it likes it, they remember it, they have certain things to take away from it. We're sitting in 2021, almost 2022, talking about that. Who is talking about Big Brother entrance that went into the Big Brother house in 2005? Does anyone?
Nobody after 2005.
Yeah, does anyone remember them?
Yeah, exactly. I had a thought. I popped it into the private chat, but more so I wouldn't forget. Going back to They Live, something struck me when I was watching it. There's a scene in the supermarket.
Wristwatch.
Yeah, where she talks into her wristwatch. And of course, this was 1988. There were no smartwatches. There were no, that tech wasn't around yet.
Yeah.
At least not on a mass market level, so it was very amusing, to see them using that. And then here we are today, and we've had conversations similarly, like about when you watch the original Trek from the 60s. You see they actually had tablets.
Yeah.
Early versions of tablets, and then in next gen they actually did have tablets.
Yeah, you look at some of the original phones; they were designed that way to mimic Star Trek. Flip phones weren't for any other reason than they had them.
That's why we wanted one.
People wanted flip phones. So if you had a choice of a brick or a flip phone, even if the flip phone didn't give you all the extra battery life
and whistles,
or have the good quality graphics on your screen, it didn't matter. It was a flip phone. And that's what people wanted, because they wanted a Star Trek phone. They didn't want a phone that size. They wanted a wee flip phone that they could actually just go whoop and talk away. But it is the one thing I must admit, there was a thing about that scene that I thought was weird, was you imagine all the humans watching that, and then suddenly there's a group of people all going, no. All of them walking towards the one guy.
Yeah.
Doing that. I mean, if you're standing there and one guy's causing havoc, and then suddenly everybody's actually started doing that, to, as you said, to a watch, when those things were, and you'd be sitting there going, well, he's actually shouting and bawling at all those people, and they're walking dead weird, talking into their watch.
Well, you see, this is a little bit James Bondy, because James Bond had that same thing, but it's like the subtleness, because there's chaos happening in one place, and he's just quickly going into his wrist and going, okay, I found the target, I'm heading in, I'm taking them out.
That's a good point, Jim, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just the fact is there was a group of them doing it. Can you imagine any human walking past going, why are they all walking towards them doing exactly the same thing? That would look weird.
Do you know what's fun about the wrist communicators? Because I know a couple of people are talking about it in the chat. And that I remember when I was very little, I used to sit at the breakfast table with my dad on a Sunday morning, and he would read the funny papers to me, the comics from the Sunday paper. And one of our favorites was Dick Tracy, which was about this sort of detective type character. And he had a wristwatch device that he could actually talk to his superiors on or something, and it would come up with like a color image. And it's funny how far back that was being envisaged and talked about, and yet and again, so much of what we saw back then, that at that time, if you had said to somebody, in such and such and in however many years, people are gonna be walking around with that, like, so what, it's going to be passé, it's going to be the average thing for people to have. We never would have believed it. We would have thought, that's like Buck Rogers territory.
Yeah. Do you know what is the weirdest one on a movie that I saw, and I thought it was the stupidest piece of technology, but I also thought that's how we would use it. Can you remember the movie when they had it all implanted under their skin, their communicators, right? But they were talking like that. So the headphones were implanted into their thumb, and anyway, so they were literally doing that. And you can imagine, right? We can actually implant it under your skin, so you can just talk like that or talk like that. But no. So I've talked like that, like a phone, an old phone. And I was watching it, I was thinking, that is the stupidest technology, because if you could have it anywhere, why not have it implanted under your ear so you can hear it anyway?
Yeah.
Or implanted on your throat so you could speak. But no, they implanted it so they still had to do that. And I thought, yep, that's what we would do. We would want it still go like that so people would know we're on the phone. And I'm trying to remember what movie it was. Oh God, what was it? It was the one where they had the implants and they could actually display onto a. He put his hand against a piece of glass, and it was like a computer screen, and he could do that. So, what was the movie? Guys in the chat, come on! What was the movie? it's it's not that old. It's less than 10 years. And it's, oh God, maybe try to get a spaceship off to go to the moon. It was.
I'm not sure about spaceships, but a recent TV show I saw that had like the subcutaneous implants was Continuum, where she has technologies like built in. She doesn't even have to do this. She just needs to talk because it's implanted behind her ear and everything.
Yeah.
But as someone that
you could see that they would have the implant, or they'd have the implant in their throat so they could just talk.
Yeah, so I did military service 22 plus years ago, and something we had for field comms for the unit, it's basically a stretch band that just goes around your throat. It's hidden behind your collar, but because your vocal cords is down here, it's able to pick it up, and all you have is like this tiny little piece in your ear. You don't see that you're actually wearing any communication equipment at all.
I love that, Space Dinosaur. I've seen the future. You know what it is? It's a 47-year-old virgin in a beige
Demolition Man
singing "I'm an Oscar Mayer winner."
Wait, that's not Demolition Man. It's sort of that, but it's not Demolition Man.
What's that one? I wish someone would explain.
He's basically going, 1984 is not the man.
Demolition Man was not meant to be. Demolition Man was not meant to be. They Live was not meant to be. RoboCop was not meant to be. V for Vendetta was not meant to be. Name any other ones where. Do you know the worst part of it? See, over the last week, watching all these type of movies, I've come to one major realization. The human race is shite.
I definitely agree.
Evil. They're evil unless you like the person.
But I have missed the step of going to cinemas and watching Demolition Man and thinking, humanity will never do that. We will never have large cities on fire constantly, massive criminal gangs and organizations and everything, and the police cannot do anything, or the police is being told to stand down.
Yeah.
And now we're in 2021. I mean, I'm just seeing, like, what has it been past 2 years now? Cities constantly being burned in the United States, and CNN, a trusted news source, is going out. Oh, it's mostly peaceful. Yeah, it's mostly peaceful. It's like, are you kidding me? You're standing in front of a building on fire, a government building on fire, and just going, don't worry, it's mostly peaceful. It's like, no. Mostly peaceful is people singing and sitting in a circle singing Kumbaya, or it's the hippies from the 1960s protesting the Vietnam War, walking up to soldiers and putting a rose into the pipe of a machine gun.
Yeah, but when you've got the most powerful nation in the world who are actually telling the police officers to guide protesters to the building just so they can get a news bite, then that shows you how knackered the world is. But I've just realised that you go back and you think, see those politicians, those bigwigs in these corporations, they're actually not exaggerations. Politicians and bigwigs, 90% of them or 99% of them are as corrupt as that. They'll do what they want. The only time they do things for you is if they get something out of it.
Well, look at one of the bigwigs we had here before the Theresa May, Boris Johnson era. He was he coalition or something, but part of leadership in UK Parliament. He's now head of Facebook for United Kingdom. It's like he's making millions of pounds a month because he was a politician. I just wonder what kind of stuff did he actually pull through Parliament under the radar that no one heard about that benefited
that job. Yep. Archer saying most of the TV remembers from childhood with sci-fi. Same for me. That's basically what I grew up watching. Sci-fi, cartoons, fantasy. That's what
Yeah,
I
I
grew up
mean,
watching.
I'm a massive fan of the dystopian societies,
I
but I don't want to
finally
live
saw
in it.
I finally saw it. Lady Hawk.
Oh,
Finally
congratulations.
watched
well
it. I
done.
finally got a hold of it and I watched it. I watched it on Sunday. I didn't watch it. Instead, I watched that. So I missed my favourite movie so I could watch it.
Are you going to try and make me push the
See,
button?
you don't even have to say it, and we know what it is. Yeah.
Scenes were there. Scenes I might get a clap out of it. I got my picture.
Yes. Nice one.
That is
awesome.
Look at that ugly mug.
Oh, that looks
Getting
that
so
is
attacked by
great.
a
awesome.
giant ant. It is me.
Yes, you're in the
That's my
scene.
condition. And basically, Ed sent it to me. I got it, and I am happy. I just need to get a frame for it.
One of the most iconic scenes in the whole film.
Yeah, that's why I wanted that, and I had to send them a lot of pictures, so he could pick one, so he could actually put it into that scene. And
You may need to put me in contact with him. So
I says, I'm getting that actually drawn. It's a hand drawn one. It's not just a picture. So
Yeah,
you may have to get me in touch with him so I can come up with something. But at the moment, I have no idea. I mean,
yeah. So because
ideas.
He was doing the classic monsters, and some people had said to him that they would like it's their favourite monster, so they would like to be included. So I says, what about? And I says, if I so I basically told him the scene and how I wanted it, and I got it. So I'm happy.
That is
but
brilliant.
I grew up watching all these sci-fi stuff like that, so that's what I grew up. Same as Archer Colin. So I did. The wrongest moment for me in RTD Doctor Who was the Eccleston Doctor gushing over some reality TV show. Why a connoisseur doctor would waste time? Well, yeah, that was the one with when they were on it. Was that the one, or was he just talking about it? I remember the one with the ginger, nasty bit.
Oh, I know the one you mean. Yeah, the weakest link.
The weakest link.
So I'm by far no connoisseur when it comes to Doctor Who, but I did see, and we're talking Brendan Fraser kind of era, where it's George of the Jungle and he comes to the city and he's like, TV is the first time he sees it, and one of the things he sees is like day soap opera. And I have to admit, some of them, even though you know they're absolute crap, you kind of like get hooked in certain angles, and you go, it's like, actually, that's really well told. That's kind of an interesting story arc, but then it's like 40 minutes of absolute nonsense, but then you get like 2 minutes of good stuff. It was like,
yeah, the best one was Crocodile Dundee, when he the reporter, whatever her name was saying to him, it's a TV. He says, I seen a TV once about 10, 15 years ago. And he switched on and goes, and it was I Love Lucy. He goes, yep, that's what it was. And he turned it back off.
that's absolutely brilliant.
Programs he'd seen the last time he'd seen TV about 10, 15 years ago, and it's the exact same program on. He goes, yep, that's the one, and turns it back off. Because the TV's still the same, it's no changed. Yeah, that's the good stuff they keep repeating. How many times are they going to repeat some of the crap that's on TV now?
Yeah. Well, speaking of
unfortunately, we're in copy-paste culture at the moment.
Yeah.
There is too much like, this was an amazing film in the 80s. Let's make a new one.
What is that about? Yeah. When the whole point...
Let's hire people that have never seen it, have no intention of seeing the original material. Let them write something.
Yeah, but not only that, but those films were made for the time. They're not intended to be reflective of the current culture. They were reflective of the culture of the time, and they still do have obviously very strong messages that still are relevant today. But they are very much of the time. So that's why I don't go along with the whole reboot.
Well, see, the thing is,
remake
if
thing.
you don't see programs from the past that were written at the time, how could you ever tell how far we've come?
Yeah.
But
Do you know what I
we're
mean?
talking about the technology that Star Trek inspired and everything.
Yeah.
Can you imagine anyone being inspired by the recent Star Treks for the last 10, 15 years to come up with the technology for the future?
I'm waiting for them so they can get a device that can go over a room and see what happened there months ago or days ago or hours ago. So they can
like
turn
a,
around and go, that's where I left my keys.
mhm.
For that, I definitely buy. I'd rather buy one of those devices than the latest iPad, tablet, Apple, whatever it is.
Yeah, but
So
that's what I'm
definitely
saying. So
need
you are a piece of technology which is physically impossible to create because that is using magic beans. Future technology gives you an inkling of what you can get. Sci-fi, science fiction gives you an inkling of what could happen.
Well,
Some
the
people
key
say
thing
there's things that
to
aren't like
forget-
the captain says. If you've got something, it's physically impossible under current physics, then it's not science fiction anymore. It's
No,
science
but
fantasy.
he's correct in that. People forget about science fiction. There is science within that. And someone I really loved reading as a child was Robert H. Heinlein.
Yes.
Because he had have spacesuit will travel. And even though it's like romanticized and the whole thing, he explains a lot of actual science reasons. Why is a spacesuit white? Because it reflects sunlight. If it was pitch black, it would consume all the heat rays coming from the sun, and you would be cooking inside the spacesuit. He gives all of those like small science nuggets and then weaves the story around it. And by the way, for anyone who hasn't read Have Spacesuit Will Travel, I strongly recommend it. And Mother is definitely a friend.
Yeah. Archer said risk communicators, Blake 7 and the Tomorrow People, which is true. I remember the Tomorrow People, they had their jaunt belts, and Blake 7 had their communicators and teleport belt risk communicators. So they did. Things that we do have now. Agent 64, Get Smart, had a shoe phone.
Yes, I used to love that.
I
used to
loved
watch
it.
that show.
I have to
new
be
movie.
perfectly honest. I don't think a shoe phone is even how practical it would be. You wouldn't have to like stretch your pockets or whatever it is to have a phone in there.
Take your
I
shoe
don't
off.
think a shoe phone will ever pick up.
Well, in all
No, I
fairness,
don't think so.
if you're in a bank robbery and somebody empties all your pocket of all your phones, your iPads, your your Apple Watch and stuff like that,
That's true. They're not going to think about your
shoe
shoes,
phone
are
will
they?
come in handy. It will save
Yeah.
you.
Very
This is
fair
true.
enough, but we're talking about like a minuscule niche. Like I need it for this.
Yes, that was funny.
Not realizing why people were pointing at him when he was using a flip phone mobile. I can just imagine. Is it
Somebody
Scottish?
somebody should have made him. I know somebody did a prototype of it. There was talk of it a while back, and it never really seemed to catch on, or maybe they couldn't get the rights or some craziness. But there was somebody designed it. It was a phone that actually looked like one of the original
No.
communicators.
Do you know what it was? Do you know what it was? It was a
What was it?
skin. It was a plastic skin you could purchase to put over your flip phone. So it had the wee grey, the wee over the top, and it was you slid the rest of your phone in. So when it was closed or when you were opening it on it, the inside when you were dialing in the camera on the screen part was still the same, but on the outside it looked like a communicator.
It looked like I'd love that.
I would love it.
I'm just going to jump in and I will make a lot of people broke now. You can go to Amazon or eBay and there is a Bluetooth actual from the original TV shows with flip up, like mesh counts and everything. It has the buttons. You can press the button and it will give you like Star Trek sounds and everything. But because all smartphones today have Bluetooth, you can actually connect that device to your smartphone and use the communicator as an actual phone.
Yeah, that is so
There
cool.
we go.
Is that a
There you
fact?
go. Yeah.
There we go. That's the one.
Batteries are
Yeah.
starting to go, so they are.
Is that the Bluetooth one though? Because there is the
No,
one
no.
without.
That is
Yeah.
just the one that cost about £6.
Yeah, I don't think the actual one that can connect to your phone is too expensive. I think it's like between 90 and 120 pounds. So yes, it costs some money, but it
That's not
doesn't
that
matter.
expensive when you think about the novelty element.
Yeah, I mean it definitely.
As long as it
if you
works.
go to a Comic-Con and
Because how
someone
many
is
times
calling
have
you,
you
you're
actually seen
putting out the
someone with
communicator.
an Enterprise on their desk and they pick it up and it's their phone because it's the old landlines. They used to be able to get that, so you did.
Oh, I love all that.
So, but I would love to get that.
Yes, Archer Collin
And then you go-
has said I would think that the shoe phone was a spoof on the Bond style gadgets, and yes, I agree.
And Big T Moore, Windology actually said that. So she did. We were talking about it. She was talking about Dick Tracy earlier on. Dick Tracy. See, I can't remember any of the stuff. I only remember
I think
all the
Big
movies.
Fish was more niche over here.
Yes, I think it was very, very mainstream in the States back then when it was, in the 70s, I would say, it was like one of the major comic strips that you would get in the Sunday paper.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a film, and that was when I was living in mainland Europe, but this is years and years ago. It was black and white, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
I've got them. I'm just trying to find what they are, what they're called.
The Sunday papers, though, that there was a point in time where those were color, because it's been so long now. But I can remember the shorter strips that would appear in the daily papers would be black and white, and then on the weekends you get the colorized versions.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I remember that too. And it was like a novelty because the Sunday paper, you get it in color, whereas the rest of the week it was just like black and white, like the normal. But that must have been mid-80s, I think. I'm trying to remember because we used to get a fair amount of the comic strips and everything. So obviously parents being annoyed because you wanted the paper before they had the chance to read the sports section and news section. You just wanted like the last page with comic strips.
Yeah, there you go.
Ralph Bird's Dick Tracy's Dilemma. Oh, there we go.
Oh, cool.
Ralph Bird's Dick Tracy meets Gruesome.
And Cue Ball.
Cue Ball, yeah.
So I've got some Dick Tracy, the classic stuff, but I remember seeing those on the TV, but I never saw anything else. I never saw the comic strip or anything like that.
Yeah, that's how I remember it, was the comic strip.
Yeah. And do you know what else?
Archer is querying, wasn't that mainly a radio show?
I have no clue. Today, and I think it's the rabbi stuff. I've not even opened it yet.
I know. How did you not open it yet?
Well,
Because
it
was in when I came home from work, and obviously I had to get things organised, the dinner and stuff like that. And I thought maybe after the stream I might actually open it, or I might open it at the end of the stream just to have a look. See, I should know what's in it, but if it is, because I'm also waiting for Sentinel comic stuff coming as well. So
I just seen Kelly's comment. It's like, your mom must be really awesome if she was curious and interested in that stuff back then.
Yep.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
I will kind of say that we did have Lawnmower Man.
Yes, I remember that.
I had Lawnmower Man, but I get rid of it because somebody had got it out of the charity shop. I was all happy, and I opened it and I realised somebody had just printed on a disc that they'd created. So it wasn't a Lawnmower Man. So that went back. I went in the bin. Wasn't even going back to a charity shop. So I was gutted. So I was. Science fiction being referred to in the Buck Rogers stuff. Yes.
Yeah, that is a common phrase that we tend to use. I can remember watching The Honeymooners with Jackie Gleason and Art Carney, and they did a spoof on, but it wasn't even Buck Rogers. It was something else. I can't think of the name of the.
It would have been Flash Gordon.
It's something like that, but it wasn't exactly that. It was like a parody of that, and oh my god, it was so funny.
Yeah, well, the
Captain something.
Big Timor. It was the Total Recall reboot. So it was.
Yes, for
under the skin. But that's what I'm saying. The technology under the skin, instead of putting it there and there, they put it there. So, and I can see somebody saying, right, you can get it. Do you want it in your ear and your throat, or where do you want it? No, I want it there because I want people to know I'm on the phone.
The Honeymooners thing was Captain Video and the Video Rangers or something like that. Yeah, it's a genius of comedy. Art Carney was.
Yeah, Art Carney was
genius.
Superb. I remember seeing a few of them. I must admit, I've not seen the whole shows, but I have seen a few, and I've been trying to get a lot of the older men stuff. I've managed to get Car 54. Where Are You? With Herman. So the two programs that I loved, Bilko. So you had the guy from Bilko and the guy from the Munsters. And
Phil Silvers.
Oh, yeah.
I love Phil Silvers, but it wasn't Phil Silvers. It was in Car 54. It was the one that played one of the sergeants under him. I think it was the cook. He was the other officer in Car 54. Where Are You? I need to double check that, but as far as I remember, hopefully can do it. Richard RTD can do characters, but I think he's going to have his hand tied behind his back, and he's going to still have to write his characters under the same auspice. So I don't think there's going to be much change, I'm afraid, unfortunately, guys. Throat mic and you cover my earpiece, but I can still see people. This is the same. It's like everybody's got phones like that, right? And they'll say, "Give me a phone," and they'll go, "What?" And they'll say, "Give me a phone." What's that got to do with that? You would say normally, "Give me a phone," because that's how the phone you use, but people still do that, and that's because you used to pick up the handset. It's the same as when you would say, "Go and tape that for me."
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think the actual movement of this is much more when the idea of like, oh, let's have like a magic thing in your thumb and microphone or a communicator. 60s, 70s, 80s, you actually had to run to the kitchen, to the wall, and go, Shepherd residence.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's just a case of, but that is all based on the phone. Whereas you would pick up the phone, but that's what that reference is. Whereas now, everybody's got phones like that. Yet even young people will go, "Give me a phone."
Yeah.
And that's their phone. So why would they? Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a slight balance. I mean, this was a joke when wireless and at least wired headphones started getting in. You saw people walking around just talking to themselves until you saw like the wires.
Yeah, that was annoying for a while until you got used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was like early 2000s. Today, if you see someone walking down the street talking to themselves,
you don't even think
glance
twice about
a little bit extra. It's like, oh, there's like a small headpiece device. I mean, my headphones are massive. I don't need them. I just prefer them because they're really comfy.
Yeah.
And I hear you guys perfectly.
Yeah, well, I've got the wee headphones here, and they're the earbuds. So I have. And I use them if I have to, because otherwise I shout, because I've got the big headphones and they go, I can't hear myself and I shout. I can't hear myself and I really shout, and accordingly my wife at the other end of the house when she's in her
these are noise cancelling as well. So if someone's knocking the front door, which is like 15 feet that direction, I can't hear it. They can literally slam the front door and I will not hear it. Noise cancellation and suppression is really, really good. So if no one is talking, I have a perfect silence. I do feel like there is just like a slight pressure because obviously there are sound waves
Yeah.
eliminating noise, but I can't hear those sound waves, but they're eliminating like anything. So I don't even hear if neighbors playing loud music. Nope, no nothing.
Well, Kelly, enjoy the bridal shower. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, Kelly.
Yeah, I'm just going through. See, the thing is, see with that Star Trek STD, one or two things happen. One, the people who are completely clueless named it, and they didn't have any concept of what people do with the Star Trek, because you've got TOS, the original series, you got DS9, you've got TNG, right? Like, fair enough, Enterprise and Voyager, they still shut them down to Voy and stuff like that, but those two don't really count. But anything with the three names, they always cut down. Somebody either didn't understand that and called it Star Trek Discovery, or somebody did and knew the people they were telling what they were going to call the season didn't, and they got the last laugh by calling it STV.
Well, I would hope that's the case, if I'm honest.
I hope.
I'm sorry, but I mean, how obvious is that? You know, it's like,
let's call it that.
Either way, I mean, I've been exploring with this whole idea of going back and checking things. Was it as bad? Was I too prejudiced? Was I too biased? Was I somehow wrong? And I tried over the last maybe 2 years. So it's been an idea for a while. I just cannot get into STD. It makes me nauseous because it says Star Trek on the tin, but there is no Star Trek in there whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. Star Trek. I was just laughing at Archer. Wait a minute. I'm just trying to see if I can find it. My ringtones. Where's my sounds? Right. There's my tech sounds, right? Let's see if I've got it. I've actually, I've got for my text is, I obey. That's when I'm sending a text.
I love it, yeah.
And then when I'm receiving a text.
An idiot is attempting to reach you on your cellular device.
Oh my God, that's an oldie, PJ.
On your cellular device.
Yeah, I put that on. It's amazing how many people get annoyed when they say, "You received my text," and that comes up.
That's an oldie. My goodness,
Yeah.
I remember when that was like really
early
days.
Even WhatsApp is great.
That's good.
And I've also got when my wife is calling. So yeah, I've got all these. They're all my thing, mate. I've all got them all linked in. But
the one I used to love, one of my favorite ones, was the Imperial probe droid that landed on Hoth. The sound that makes is one of the coolest sounds ever. And I used to have that on one of my old phones. And the Jawas sounds.
Yeah. Well, Benji nearly sat in the picture. I've got even my ringtones.
Oh, Laurel and Hardy.
And I've got for when that's for when I'm in my car and get it, because obviously my Big John, my Duke.
Yeah.
I know I'm a sad git, so I've even got my 1963 or 1966. Two of them are different.
That's good.
I can hear the difference, but I better just leave it, or else I'll just play with me all my sounds again. I do that every so often, and my wife gets annoyed at me. I'm really terrible at that.
But
yeah,
it is funny.
I used to have the communicator beat, but I changed it to my Doctor Who stuff. So basically, I get report or I do like the idiot is texting. I usually use that for work. So when I'm in work, I get a lot of them, and people actually get really annoyed at me. I don't know why. Can never understand it. So terrible. What was that? Anyone else remember? Okay, Bench.
Oh,
He just wants on screen, so he does. So Modesty
Blaze was amazing.
I've never even heard of that.
Oh, it's female agent, 1960s. Well, I guess I'm not as much a super fan here, but for me, it was like 60s. Basically, James Bond, female version, clever, savvy, suave.
You mean they've not actually made it and updated it to make her the exact same as what she was in the 60s? So,
but check the chat, because I just pointed out that I'm surprised that Modesty Blaze hasn't been rebooted at least 15 times.
They can't, because that would prove that there was strong.
yeah, there was actually already strong female characters.
So
Yeah,
reboot it, so
the game is to just destroy all the male characters. That's the game.
Right.
And here's the kicker: it was my mum introducing me to it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's the Monica Vitti one. I haven't seen it in years, but I recall as a kid, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I must admit, I have not. And there you go, Commander Cody and the Moon Men. Is that the one with the Art Carney? Are we still catching
I'm
up?
trying to remember. Perhaps it is. It's just been absolutely ages.
Yeah, I can't remember, because obviously we didn't get a lot of the American early stuff over here. Well, no, when I was watching it, I was watching Doctor Who and stuff like that. So,
And just for the younger people, VHS is what we had before DVD.
what do you mean for the younger people? I've got piles of them down here. Still got the video player. I've got my VHS collection of Doctor Who and Farscape. So I have.
Yeah, Art Carney's character, Ed Norton's favorite TV show was Captain Video Rangers. And he was a Ranger 3rd class. And he was so proud of it.
I remember that. They basically, because he had a badge.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that episode, because I've seen a couple, and the one when they're dressed as spacemen to try and freak out somebody. That's when he talks about it.
Yep.
But I've never
Captain
seen that
Video.
one.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to catch up. Jack Campbell, what's that? Like the Syndicate World from the Lost Stars series by Jack Campbell. Not read that one.
Just double checking, because that sounds familiar.
That's interesting. Looking at They Live. Going back to They Live for a moment. The film was theatrically released in North America on the 4th of November 1988 and debuted at #1 at the box office, grossing $4.8 million during its opening weekends. In 1988, that is incredible.
That is a lot of money for it.
If you actually put into Google, I think, what was $4 million worth to 1988 compared to now, I think it is. You do something like that, and it will give you the currency, the year conversion.
But even so, I would look at the shall we say, investment. So if you paid $100,000 and you made 4.8 million in your opening weekend, you'd be laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
And yet it was obviously, not surprisingly, it was panned by most of the critics, apparently, which that's not news. That's pretty.
Well, I find that true. I find that happens to most of. His name is slipping. Carpenter. his work. I mean, he's got tons of films and they're really well made, but they were not the very highest of budgets. They were not the highest promoted, but constantly they were getting audience. There's a reason people know Carpenter today.
Well, it's because he's done some perfect stuff.
I mean, I haven't looked into the individual himself, but
Right.
I like the content. So we have The Thing, we have all the big films that I know him from is slipping. It's like, isn't he doing Halloween as well and all of those? He was really good at capturing and making good visual without going over the top, making use of what he had and just make it happen, which is something I really like about They Live, because it had that, because there was a slight downturn in the early 80s where it's like rundown buildings, cities were a bit crap. If you look at the big ones that people think about when it comes to 80s films is like Escape from New York, Escape from LA. So actually shot on site. It's just used during nighttime and whatnot, because the city is a little bit run down. The rubbish hasn't been cleared out. It's really looking bad. And it makes for an amazing set piece for the world it's trying to build.
And that's basically what you need, a good program to do, or TV, a good book, good comic, whatever. It needs to build a good world, should it say. Even if it's a bad world, it needs to build a good world for those to be in. Because a bad world makes, no matter how good your story, bad. Because if it's not believable.
Yeah, I can absolutely not disagree with Colin here.
Yeah.
Modesty Blaze is basically, well, she's not James Bond. She's Modesty Blaze.
Yeah,
but
I know what
the-
you talk about when they say she's a female James Bond. They say no, she's a Modesty Blade. So when somebody comes up with the attitude of that, see, I quite agree. That's why I don't like the new stuff, because they're too dark and too nihilistic. Who wants to watch a program where you think, I can't wait for everybody to die? That'll cheer me up.
You see, I agree. This is probably the one I agree with you on there. But for me, what killed Discovery for me, it's not Star Trek. There's not a single, even like a sliver, trying to connect it to a Star Trek kind of entertainment universe storyline whatsoever. Has no Star Trek.
It should have its own. It should just be a completely separate show. What's the point of connecting it with Star Trek if it's not carrying on those same values?
Look, I've got my bad boys.
I see that. But when it comes to that,
Big T has said tribbles in the chat as well. You've got two tribbles there.
I've got trouble.
We got the double trouble.
Trouble
But when
with
it comes
tribbles.
to Discovery,
Yeah.
can anyone tell me the distinctive trait about the captain? So we have.
I haven't watched it, I have to be honest.
I must admit, the only thing about it is the captain died straight away.
I like to watch water polo. You have unique traits that makes all the captains stand out. Even Cisco.
That was Enterprise. That was Scott Bakula's one with water polo.
Yeah, you have unique traits stand out, but can anyone anywhere tell me the unique trait about the captain in STD?
Aye, she died. Or he died.
But that's not the unique trait.
It isn't thing, mate, because any captain never usually dies in their flagship program. You name one other Star Trek franchise that killed off the captain first or second episode. So it's a unique thing for that.
In theory, Kirk does die in the film.
Aye, in theory, but it's basically, even in the remake, you had Spock dying in one and Kirk dying in the other.
Yeah, sorry, I need to pour bleach into my brain and just like get rid of that because that never
Yeah.
happened.
Aye. See, the idea of this new Star Trek Kelvin universe was a good idea. It was just poorly executed because Kirk, when he beat the Tabeyashi Maru, if I've got that one right, Kobayashi Maru, when he beat that, sitting there with an apple going,
I don't like to lose.
I know, obviously cheating. Don't worry. Let's do this. Oh, it's all going thingy. Now we'll do this. And you're sitting there thinking,
no, that's not
right.
Kirk.
No, but what I'm saying is the original Kirk, he beat it by cheating. But
he reprogrammed the simulation
by cheating, and he's sitting there eating an apple, very disinterested, a wee flicker, and then he goes, fire that, and oh, you've succeeded. How did you do that? Really? A guy sitting there with an apple, eating an apple, no paying any attention until flickers appear, and then he says, fire, and the one, and you're sitting there thinking, they're expecting people to actually believe that they didn't know he cheated.
No, this is where they got Kirk wrong in this so-called reboot. He was larger than life, kind of like William Shatner is. Bill Shatner, whatever he wants to actually be called. I know a lot of people think he's a bastard, but I kind of like his attitude. I kind of like his persona, approach to life, and everything. And I see that as that is what Kirk would have done back then. He knew he cheated, but he wouldn't have been rubbing it in your face.
Yeah, but that's it wouldn't have been obvious to the point where you would have turned around and goes, you failed because you cheated. They obviously had to work out how he succeeded. They found out he'd reprogrammed it, he cheated. So they gave him the marks for it. Not sitting there with an apple.
But that's the second part of it that really like slams the nail into the coffin.
Yeah.
Spock is supposed to be super logical, very clever, figure out everything, but he just goes up in front of like the audit commission or whatever they are and say, well, he cheated. Why? I designed an uncheatable program. But you just said he cheated, and you said you can't cheat. So it's like...
But also the fact that he got me angry. He basically riled up Spock until he got angry in one of the movies, and I'm sitting there thinking, nope.
No.
Because Spock would just turn around and go, it's no logical to try and make me angry.
Well, actually, he does make Spock angry in one of the early episodes.
Remember, was that not because...
That's to snap him out of this this haze that he was in from the...
that was
the pods, yeah.
So then basically he was already, his logic circuits were compromised, and that's what he was doing to get him out of it. And then as soon as he got angry, then he realised it was not logical. So he used that because it was already compromised. But how many times has he tried to get him angry and he's just sort of looked at him and saying, it's highly illogical to try and get me angry. Hey, I'm stronger than you. It wouldn't work. It'd be like turning around and saying, what is that 8-legged arachnoid in your shoulder? Huh? Yeah, I mean, like they did in one of the ones when they went back in time. But it's a case of they don't understand the characters.
Yeah, no, but I mean, as the chat is pointing out, and thank you, chat, you're always keeping us honest. Right? Yes, there are instances where there are the emotion bubbling and everything in previous, where they are playing on that.
Yeah.
Overall, if there was one person in any science fiction universe or anything that you would try to want to piss off, the hardest one would definitely be Spock.
Yeah.
Because he would not just simply bite.
Yeah. Did you see these two? See, I've never read the Evening Standard, so that's why I wouldn't have seen the Syndicate. So sorry, I missed that one. But Captain Galaxy and Future Boy from the TV series Quantum Leap. Remember when they did it? He was the pilot. He wasn't he was Future Boy, Scott Bakula.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before he actually became a
I
captain.
saw that. Yeah.
I mean, Quantum Leap is such an amazing show.
It is unlike
Oh, God, I
STD.
loved it.
Yeah.
It had a real magic to it. It had a real heart to it.
But this is something I'm missing from, and I do say missing. It's not nostalgia. I don't have like rose-tinted glasses on or anything. But if you look at TV shows like A-Team, Knight Rider, MacGyver, Quantum Leap, they had a mentor. Even Charlie's Angels, you had a mentor kind of in the background, supporting, being there, being friend, being approachable, being, I don't know how to describe it, but you didn't just have the hero in front and that was all it was.
Yes.
You have everybody had their Lady Penelope and Parker.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the thing. But yeah, a female version of Bond rather than the female James Bond. I understand where Archer's coming with. He's not saying it's a female version of Bond. It's a feminized version, I suppose. So it's a female version of Bond. It's not James Bond as a woman. So a female James Bond. So it's a female version of Bond, which is right because they've taken the character and says, we'll create a female version of Bond called Modesty rather than saying we've made Bond into a woman. I suppose it's that way. I can understand that.
Modesty Blaze is definitely not James Bond.
No,
like
that's what
having MI6 backup and the whole thing, but like
no, but
she does have them. Yeah,
it's a version of the James Bond character type. That's all.
Yeah,
and even that Mikey Spock, his sister that nobody had ever knew about was the one that actually got him to where he was, because he was so emotional up until that point. Really, the whole thing, they had to be related just to screw it over.
Yeah, I think they were trying to get him. What was he? They were saying now he was dyslexic. It's like, hang on, this is the senior science officer aboard the capital ship of the entire fleet, and he's reading of science panels and everything for almost 55 years before SD comes around, and suddenly he's dyslexic and can't read.
And Archer, thank you for joining us. Have fun in your other stream. I had to actually, basically it was only about 5 minutes ago. So, but yeah, it's crazy because they're actually turning and going, he had something wrong with him. Aye, he had something wrong with him. His mum was human. That's what everybody is when he was a kid picked on him for, because they saw him as less because he wasn't a full-bred Vulcan, not because he was dyslexic or whatever. He was overly emotional. He wasn't. He strived to show that just because he had a human mother didn't make him any less of a Vulcan. In some of the movies, you saw that kids are kids no matter what, even if they're logically they actually think it's right to do it. But I never did like that, I must admit. They've done Spock.
Well, Sadako actually has kind of a point there, because Kirk is...
Yeah, that's what he says. He wanted to show that he didn't believe in anything that of a no-win scenario.
Yeah, he's an invincible, but he's coming at it from the angle, this is just another problem to solve.
No, but
he's just accepting, I can't win, I'm back.
But when he was asked, why did you cheat? He says, because it was a no-win scenario, and I don't believe there's such a thing as a no-win scenario. So he had to cheat. He had to change it because he didn't believe it. If you've got something that is no-win, then what's the point? Because you can't win. So no matter what you do, you fail. So they're basically setting everybody up to fail. It's to show how they act if they fail. But if you go in knowing you're going to fail, it's not a proper test.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I agree with the whole Kobayashi Maru and why he should have cheated. Because if you go in knowing, I'm
got a
bomb
commendation.
anyway.
Got a commendation
Yeah,
for original thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I believe, me personally, what would make a good captain, a good leader.
That's who you want as your captain, not somebody that just resigns themselves to the fact that, okay, we're not going to win this, but it's more like, you know, oh, how can we get around this, you know?
Yeah. And that's,
Yeah, throughout history, there's been plenty of examples, and I believe it's a recent film, Dunkirk, where a battalion gets the order from Winston Churchill. Well, we need you to make noise, but you're not going to get out of there. We need you to keep them distracted so we can save as many as possible.
But that's not a no-win scenario.
That's just no-win. That's like, there is no way out.
That's the forlorn hope. That is the sacrificial lamb. That's that's what I'm saying. That's not a no-win scenario. They're not going in expecting to win or try to work out a way to win. They're basically going in to make a sacrifice for the greater good, as it were. They might not all die, they might get captured, whatever. It was just basically, we need yous 500 guys to do this to save 50,000. So sorry, you're not one of the 50,000, but that's a different one. So that's what I'm saying. That's not a no-win scenario. Even for the company, it's not a no-win scenario because they're going in knowing they're not going to win. It's not the same because the no-win scenario, Kobayashi Maru is trying to get them to find a solution, but it's a false one because there is no solution to win it. There's no matter what you do, you can't win it. So they're getting in trying to beat it, but nobody knew. Everybody just assumed or thought it was a no-win scenario, but they still thought there was a solution to it. So they were getting in trying to beat it, knowing there might be a possibility, until they were told later that after the end they couldn't have won no matter what they did. So when they finish it, they know there's no solution, but beforehand they don't know that. And
you see, I played plenty of the Star Trek games, and there is a Bridge Commander game for PC. Yes, you can literally have like a 45-minute long battle and like get in there, get the ship on tractor beam, start getting them toward the border. But no matter the solution you provide, there is always the contingency in the programming. So you solve that problem, but here's 10 new problems. They constantly do that in the video game. So they literally mean you cannot win. But I think there's probably a lot of videos on YouTube where people are sitting and playing that forever. And there's like, they're managing to solve problem. But then at the end, the program is just throwing so much at you. So it's meant to be, in this case, a no-win scenario. And this is where I agree with the original Kirk, not the new one where he's sitting there and just munching an apple. There is no such thing as a no-win scenario.
Yeah.
There's always some way.
It's like the drinker said, these things are written by children.
Oh, yeah.
Let's show them cheating. Let's show him eating an apple because that'll be funny because people won't realise he's actually cheating. Really? Anybody with a brain could sit there and see he's cheating because look how he's acting. And then suddenly a flicker and then fire and he wins. Oh, there's a surprise. How could that have happened without him cheating? And it's not a case of, right, we'll try this, we'll try that, right, fire all these and do that. What do you mean it win? Oh, that was a surprise. I didn't think you were meant to win. Yeah, he might have cheated, but at least he acted as if that was a surprise. Did I win? Not a case of fire. Yeah, surprise. And the people actually saying, yeah, you knew he was cheating. Really.
But it's also an arrogance that doesn't fit with James T. Kirk.
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
exactly. It's why I didn't like the movies. I liked the idea of the first one because it allowed them to relaunch it.
I
and
did enjoy the
change
first
things.
one. Yeah,
Uh,
I did enjoy it. I looked beyond certain things, that like what we were just talking about, because I did feel that they were trying hard to sort of honor the sort of characters as best they could. They had, Carl Urban did a fabulous job, and they were trying very hard to sort of
Bones.
pay an homage. Yes, pay a homage to the original characters.
Yeah.
So I forgave them for the first
Yes.
film, and I did allow myself to enjoy that.
I
The
enjoyed
second one was meh.
the
Yeah.
second one was the
Nah.
third one was.
I don't
But
even think I saw the
I was
third one.
watching a Carl Urban movie yesterday as well. Red.
Oh,
Did
chaps, I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to bid you good night
Yeah.
because we're
We're not going to be too
fading
much
here.
longer anyway, but thank you, Wend, for
Yeah,
joining
it
us.
was a pleasure.
And we will be doing a war movie for Memorial Saturday. It's for Sunday, but we're obviously
Yeah.
on Saturday. So we'll pick a movie. We've
had
there's
some.
so many. What we'll try and do is keep it to a British movie because there's so
Yeah.
many great movies, British and American. And there's a couple of Russian ones as well. And there's a couple of Polish ones. There's basically ones from all over the world. It's
I know,
basically
yes.
fantastic.
Huge.
So because it's Remembrance Sunday, we'll do a British one, but we've still not decided, guys and girls. So put a comment in the video if you think one we should look at, but it has to be a British war movie. It doesn't matter if it's First or Second World War, and it's First or Second World War, so no Korean, Vietnam, Boer War, Zulu War. So Zulu's out, although it's my favourite war movie.
Yes, yeah,
Even
I love
I've
Zulu.
restricted to it. I want the ones that are basically First or Second World War British movies.
Yeah.
So, but thanks, Wend, and
All right.
I'll be in contact as soon as we get something.
Yeah, we'll come to a decision at some point. There's so many to choose from.
Tomorrow, the decision has to be made by tomorrow, so we'll chat tomorrow.
We'll get there.
Yep.
Okay, well, good night, both.
Good night.
Take
Thank
care.
you again for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night.
Right. So, I agree.
Yeah.
The Kobayashi Maru, it basically lets them try things that they might not. I know it's not meant to work. They might use it again in a different thing, thinking I've tried it and it sort of worked the way I was expecting it, but it didn't win the scenario. But yeah, it gives them a chance to try things out. Yeah.
But you see, in terms of the old way, and I know chat will correct me, I don't think the Kobayashi Maru is actually really describe what it is. It's just something you cannot win. But Kirk somehow won it. That's the original description of it. It isn't until way, way later when we have this, shall we say, like the Critical Drinker, it's children writing a story. And therefore they have to explain absolutely everything. No, for me, it's perfectly understandable. Okay, as a very impossible scenario, somehow Kirk got out on top.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
That's true. Basically, you didn't need to go into all the things and seen it. It just was cringeworthy. But I suppose what we'll need to do, right? We'll aim for 15 minutes, so 10:30 we'll aim for. And I suppose we best actually finish talking about They Live, because we've been hinting at it for those who haven't seen it, which, considering it's a 1988 film, I sort of can't really say were spoilers because it's an old film.
Well, we should probably do rating because we did forget that last time. We didn't give rating on the film.
We need to rate it, but before we rate it, I want to talk about the final scenes, which shocked me because Frank gets killed by Holly.
Yeah.
off screen, you see the gun coming up, you hear the bang, but you don't see him getting killed. And I think that was a disservice. I could see why they did it because it was so shocking. You're sitting there thinking, huh? She just killed him. And so you were expecting a happy sort of end. They destroyed it. People would actually rise up, but it didn't. It basically, she shot him, and then she points the gun at Nada, and he has to shoot her to survive. And then he shoots thing, and then he gets killed, and then you just see what's happening. But it leaves it in such an open way that you don't know how it's going to play out. You just see things. But the fact that they killed off Frank really annoyed me, because him and John Nada basically were a great team.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of dynamic there. And
I would have preferred.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it
both of them off? I think both of them surviving to the end, to both of them destroy it and then get killed. It would have been a better ending.
But you're not even certain that Nada dies. I mean, yes, he's wounded.
He gets shot. He gets shot.
Yeah, he's wounded, but he's still moving by the time they fades out to the end credits.
Yeah.
I believe it was Cardassian, not the Klingons.
No, it was Klingons, because it was Klingon birds of prey actually decloaked. They may have changed it at times, so it was different.
There's so many versions around of that. So.
There are so many, but the basic is the Kobayashi Maru is stranded, and so they change it up so it's different. But with Kirk, it was the Klingons, so it was. Yeah, I think that's true. The fact that he's going hunting for her to save her, and she's the one that betrays and kills Frank, really annoyed me. I found her very weird, and I thought there was something off against her from early on. But when she did that to Frank, I was annoyed. I was so annoyed. So I was. But because Frank was one of the better characters, him and Nada worked really well together. So you're talking about Keith and Roddy, just basically had a good on-screen chemistry, and just seeing them getting taken out like that by.
We'll keep it to the daily, but I will just give the nod to Sadako. You're accurate. Cardassians didn't come in until TNG, so they would not have been.
Stop jumping ahead. It's one bloody comment after this one. Stop jumping ahead. Because I was wondering what you were talking, giving me a nod about the romantic conversation thingy. Into the Breach is called the Fallen Hope. Yep. They're the Vanguard and usually die so that the rest can enter. Because basically people would join the Forlorn Hope to get the promotion they wanted or something like that. Because anybody that survived the Forlorn Hope, if this like me, so yeah, I know I'm a big Napoleonic War. I've got a load of books on the Napoleonic. I've got a few books, diaries of soldiers talking about how they joined the Forlorn Hope because they wanted to be promoted to sergeant, or you had sergeants doing it, trying to get promoted to commissioned officers and stuff like that. So that's a lot of them did it for promotion or the glory of being the first in, or to get access to booty before anybody else. I've got a lot of
different kind of warfare back then because they were still doing spoils of war.
Yeah, the TNG, but we're talking about if with the new movie they might have actually changed it up. But I think when they're talking about the Kobayashi Maru, it's not always Klingons they're against. So later ones when they talk about it, there's different ones they're fighting, so it's not always Klingons. It's so people don't, if they know the Klingon tactics, that it's whoever appears, and it's that type of thing. You don't know it's against the Klingons because it could be the Romulans because it's in the neutral zone. It just you just have to go. I think that's what it is when they're talking about the Klingons and Kardashians and stuff like that. So basically, the Kardashians, they might come out with a new jewelry handbag and really throw you for 6. Well,
I will say the best version of that in terms of video games that I played, it's virtual reality on PlayStation. But the kicker is you do not play it alone. So you may sit in the captain's seat. So you have the captain's like touch panels and commands and everything, and you have your voice command, but you do have another human player sitting at the pilot seat. You have another at the engineering seat. You have another at the like security seat. So you have to give commands all the way around. It's like, do this, turn the ship this way, because you don't steer it from the captain's seat. You steer it from the pilot seat, but the pilot has to take command from the captain's seat, who gets like the radar, where is everybody, go this direction, turn 366 degrees this way. And I like that because collaboration is a major key part of any Star Trek story.
Of course it is, but not the new stuff. The new stuff is not about collaboration. It's about one person doing everything.
Yeah, and being an expert in absolutely everything, which is just ridiculous.
But it's just that's what it is, because Star Trek used to be an ensemble piece. Now it's not. And that's what's killing it. But there you go. I've never read the books, Space Dinosaur. But yeah, I think I'd heard that, but I'd never read it. So I've actually only read about 4 or 5 Star Trek novels. I might have to get a couple more in audio, but because I've stopped reading because I'm getting old and I can't see. Well, I can, but anyway.
Sure you can do it. Just called zoom in times 100.
I'm going to open that. So give us marks out of 10 for your for They Live.
This is a solid 8.0.
Right.
Is it the best thing I've ever seen? No. Does it have nostalgia? Does it have John Carpenter feel? It has all of these things. It has the rundown blocks and quarters and alleyways. Does it have like the 80s, early 90s kind of yuppie feel where it's like, oh, bling is all that matters and everything? But that's woven into the story, because when the glasses comes on, it's like, oh, here's an advert for something fantastic you might like. But when the glasses comes on, it's consume.
Yeah, definitely. Big T, Dam Busters, there's been about 4 people have mentioned that, so that is one of the ones on the list. The Eagle has landed. We have looked at. There's been hundreds. We actually, how many did you think we mentioned yesterday?
Oh, we were literally going on. I was just saying,
literally
if it was a live stream, it would be on for 10 hours.
Movie after movie after movie, just try to actually decide, because there's so many great ones. But Dam Busters had been mentioned by a good few of us, so that's a possibility. However, I must admit, I enjoyed this movie. I'm going to give it an 8. The only reason it's dropping to is Holly. It's just looked weird. Meg Foster looked weird, but it was a good weird, I suppose, because she was meant to look. I mean, it's just the way she acted. It just made things just not quite stand out. And I thought the end, the way they dealt Frank at his final blow, sort of made me a wee bit unhappy, and bummer.
It's still a solid 8, because
it's a solid 8. It's a good story. It's open ended. It's basically Disney give you every bit of detail of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's a film that assumes that you can think for yourself. You don't need to be told every single part of the story in exposition or whatever it is. It really just goes, here is John Nada coming in. He's looking for work. Why does he need to look for work? We don't need to know. We can make that up for ourselves. What is the reason why someone is just like walking along a railroad track? Story that evolves is we get to know he's intelligent, he's smart, he's capable, he has a sense of moral compass, so to speak. Is he right to destroy what the aliens are doing? They don't even really explore that. But
They don't give it any how they looked. He just freaked out about it. Once more into the breach, dear friends. Once more. There you go. Cam was the fourth man in a breaching team. Airborne air assault troops. Hell of a lot more balls than I've got, to tell you that much. I'm a coward. But I know I am, so basically. That's the honest
I would like to think I'm a Jane kind of type from Firefly, but I'm probably more along the line of Shepard or the Doctor.
Walsh. I'm more along. I'm in the lines of Walsh. I'll fly.
Yeah. I'll do the flying. You do the butt kicking. I will say I'm probably along that line.
Right. Okay. So I gave it an 8, and you gave it a 9. Did you say
8?
8 as well. 2 great 8s for a great movie. So we'll finish there with this, and for the last 5 minutes, shall we open the?
Oh yes, please. I wish I had a drum roll button, but I don't know where that is.
So here we go. Right. Yep, it's the rabbis. So we have got the Imperium.
Oh, nice.
And I'm so looking forward to that. There's some nice artwork in it. He's even got the prisoner and such like. And
I like that artwork.
There is some good stuff. Thunderbirds. There. Oh, aye. A chimpanzee in a spacesuit. And his other one, biblical, the Holy
and the Dead.
And the artwork in that.
Should put yourself on big screen because that looks really good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really well drawn.
But I'm really looking forward to that. So, and then, for the male gaze cards. You get Perry, and it says no hanky panky in the TARDIS.
Ooh, very nice. Wait, male gaze. Sorry, I have to do this. Apparently.
Space 1999. Party like it's 1999. You've got
that is some really nice artwork.
Yeah,
very
Troy.
Good shading.
I'm sensing strong emotions, Captain. You have.
She's looking a little bit too arrogant in that. It's like, really? That's what you got, big boy?
This is the only time I agree with this statement, because the Force is female.
Yes. She definitely stirred a lot of forces.
Don't even think about it, citizen. Judge Anderson.
That's Judge Anderson from Judge Dredd. She's very much more like Harlequin in that one, but I do like it.
Do you think this is Bond keeping up the bait?
No, that's never Bond. But who would that be? That looks like Ursula?
It's definitely no Moneypenny, but it's a female version of Bond. It's literally because it's in, and she's got the gun, like in Goldeneye and stuff like that.
Well, I would say definitely if you're a creep walking in on a lady doing her evening activities, getting ready for bed and whatnot, and she's like dressed in the comfy stuff, and you're a creep walking in, that is definitely the look I would expect. It's like shoot first, ask questions later.
3 posters.
So where are they going to go up?
Well, I don't know. The one will be going to a friend. This one will go to a friend.
Ooh, back up a little bit so people can see the full one.
It's got a hole right in the centre because obviously it came in the thing we folded. But Peter Capaldi, that's really good, that one, isn't it?
That's a really, really good one.
So, and there's a... Oh, I'm trying to be careful with these. I'll leave that one because this one here, this is going up on, probably on my door, but I need to get a proper frame.
Oh no,
for it.
look at that.
Now that...
I almost feel like that should have had color. Just because the scar?
No, I think it looks perfect like that.
Black and white, that is gorgeous. But I think, like,
it would be nice.
partial...
Yes, I can't deny that, but I think it just looks perfect like that.
Yeah,
so I need to get a frame for that one. This one will have to go behind door.
Wait, it has to go outside the TARDIS?
No, behind my door, inside the TARDIS.
Oh, now we're talking here. We have the doggy.
K9.
Yeah, K9, but who are the ladies?
Well, that's Leela.
Okay.
And you've got Raquel Welch, 10,000 years BC.
Oh, now I see it.
BC. That's 1 million years BC. So that's from the Rabbi. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm a happy chappy. Those look great. The books, I can't wait to actually read these. Can't wait for that one. That one looks really good because you've got the chimp, you've got Bond. Is it Bond?
So hold it up a little bit. So I don't know too much about this. I do recognize the monkey in the spacesuit from something. It's not James Bond, but it's more like a British bad guy. If you look at the lady at the back, that is definitely like Clockwork Orange inspired.
And then you've got Patrick Troughton.
Yeah.
So you've got...
That's amazing.
There's actually 5 in that picture. You have the agent, which is her. You have the exile, which is him. You have the assassin, which is him. You have the astronaut, which is him. And you have the envoy, which is that. So basically,
now I see it. Yeah.
It's actually, even in this, it's even just by the picture, it's actually more interesting than the Star Trek or the Star Wars geode.
See, that's so cleverly like baked into one picture.
Yeah, I'm just reading it. The Imperium takes iconic characters and deconstructs them to their roots, reassemble them for a modern form, and dumps them all into a supergroup with the stonking, mind-bending action and adventure. I sat down and thought about this, what is the 1960s, and now exists in the media sphere. I think the assassin's meant to be the prisoner, I think. But it could be the James Bond character. What would an alien cosmic hobo? Patrick Troughton. What would a womanizing government assassin? Bond, it has to be. With no conscience be like? Why would a gorgeous and insanely talented woman be a super spy? So I'm not entirely sure what she's from. Is she meant to be like from the Avengers, as in Steed with the bowler hat?
Ooh.
And what was
so
it?
You see, I got definitely like Clockwork Orange vibes on that, but it could definitely be Avengers as well, as in the 60s TV show.
The exile's extraterrestrial, exiled shapeshifter cosmonaut. The agent is socialite, Olympic gymnast, model, secret agent. So who's that sounding like? The assassin is suave, MI6.
I wonder if these talents ever come in handy for the storyline.
Or in Psychopath. The envoy is sentient, extra-dimensional, possible seeder of humanity. So you can, that's basically 2001: A Space Odyssey. Basically the envoy.
Yeah, it's like a rectangular block rather than just like a little.
I know who the chimp's meant to be. It's meant to be Ladka. No, no Ladka. The first chimp. Accordingly, I think if I remember right, he get left to die in space, but he was sort of rescued by extraterrestrials and made smart and sent back.
Yep, I recognize that one. Lightka is not the name; it's something close to it. But yeah, I definitely like read books or like comic strips.
There is some good stuff, and it's definitely not a book for kids. And then biblical looks really good. No preaching, no polemics.
Wait, you have
Just
a biblical event without preaching?
Yep, that's what it says. Complex and powerful, tackling dark philosophical themes. And
Philosophical.
No polemics. Polemics, just in case people think I'm actually mispronouncing it. I probably am, but...
No. It was just your non-accent English.
That's what it was. But I'm actually looking forward to this because the artwork in it just looks amazing. There's... Jim, you actually managed to get in it.
I did.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm really intrigued.
All right, wait a minute. That page will work, but let's see if there's a better page. Aye.
Way.
Jim the Viking.
You see, I swear, I'm never caught on camera anywhere, but I do know there are some really good sketch artists just goes like, that's it.
But there you go, guys. That's what I got from Ingrid. But they live. Right, let's see. We'll finish off. Let's have a wee quick look and finish off these. Called them a miracle worker. We got that far, didn't we? Possible war movies, Dam Busters, yep. Fourth Man Breaching Team, got that one.
Dam Busters definitely seem to be like a high draw.
I think Dam Busters is just thingy. It's just a great movie, so it is. Still waiting for us. I know. I was see when I came in from work, it was sitting there. I was sitting there going, "Ooh, wonder what one that is. Is it my stuff from Sentinel?" But it seemed a bit thick, and I thought, I think that's the rabbi, so I'm going to open it. But because I got in after work and I had to get organised for this, that's why I decided maybe open it and screen. So I'm really, really happy. And Cam.
I'm sure. I mean, I know Wendy had to dodge out, but if she'd been here, she'd be gushing over that as well.
Yeah,
that was some awesome stuff that you got.
Leela was one of the better characters because she was violent, but she was sensible, and it wasn't just violence for the sake of violence. I know they were great, weren't they?
Well, I did respond to that and saying it's actually visual pleasure.
Yeah. Basically, need to find a place. There's a bit above my window there I could put them, but that means, or else I could put them above there. There's a space there. There's enough space there for one of the posters, but there's not really a lot of space anywhere else. But I could actually put the male gaze cards here.
Yeah, you see, unfortunately, I need my background for my work as well, so I'm kind of keeping it clean. Although I will say, Lady Sylvanas,
I need to find a space for that as well.
Shall we say, scantily clad?
Yeah,
but I can just like.
I'm okay because mine will probably go up that wall. There's spaces there, and I can't fit in A4 pictures, but those ones are slightly smaller than A4, so they'll work. And that's what I need to find a space for as well.
That definitely needs to be in shot when you're on stream.
That is going to get on a frame, and unfortunately, the frame will just.
Oh, you can't hide Jakar and London.
Exactly, and I'm not hiding the Wheel of Time stuff. Oh, look, Wheel of Time stuff. I even dug out all my cards.
We got 9 days to go, I think it is now, until it comes out.
So I've even dug out my cards, my Wheel of Time cards. I've got the card game as well. as you can see, Wheel of Time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the microphone is hiding some of it, but I get this whole thing. Build your background, and it's like, well, I have to sit in it, and what do you want to show?
Yeah, well, I've got my Wheel of
So,
Time.
like what you were saying, a film disqualified from.
Yep.
But it's right here.
Yeah, I've got mine sitting right there. Julia is down there. So I have down in my war shelf. So I have. But, ladies and gents, thank you. I'm just going to finish off these guys.
That sounded very wrong.
If you've heard the expression, I meant these chats. Ouch, that actually sounds really bad. It sounds a lot worse than you said the last time, Cam. That's, any hit to the head, not good.
Well, Cam, I definitely recommend not using your head too much. It just causes problems.
I would say I know what you mean, but according to my wife, I don't use my head at all. My head's only there to keep my hair on, and even that didn't work.
Yep. No, on the serious note, happy to see you here, Cam. Glad that you're back in the chat. It's good to have you here.
Definitely. Thank you very much, guys. Remember and hit that like button and comment if you think we should actually look at other movies. Obviously, for the weekend, we're going to do a war movie. There is a few on the list. We just need to discuss it tomorrow, but I'll post out what we're going to do on, because the problem is I've got about, I think it was about 40 war movies. So I do on DVD, and I've got a few other ones on download, and I've even got one or two in video. Really got
and one. We probably got quite a few of them on VHS still.
Yes. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed tonight. And Jim, thank you for joining us and having another great time. And remember, guys, I'm not old. I'm classic. PJ maybe and Jim the Viking.